ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So very happy to be back amidst all of you to study Bhagavad Gita together. This is a quick overview of chapter 2, Gita, Gita. Surrender to Guru, identity, who am I? Two dharmas, conditional, constitutional. Duties in relationship to body, duties in relationship to soul. Two dharmas. And Atma Rama. By discharging both duties perfectly, one can come to a stage of becoming self-satisfied. Atma Rama. So of this we have covered the first section, how Arjuna surrendered to Krishna, accepting him as his guru. And we saw how all the wonderful material qualifications, high birth, good education, wealth, mental intellectual astuteness, are not sufficient to solve the real problems of life: birth, old age, disease and death. And in this way, especially when we land up in great perplexities in our life, we need a teacher who can validate, optimize and navigate our choices in life. To make right choices moment to moment, we need wisdom that we get from God coming through Guru. So that is why Guru is absolute must. There are some organizations that say, well, Guru is not needed. But we see here in the Bhagavad Gita, Guru is absolute must. If somebody says, you don't need Guru to get spiritual knowledge, then the obvious next question is, then why should I take you as my Guru to get this knowledge also? It's a self-defeating philosophy. So therefore, we need a spiritual master. Now, when we surrender to the spiritual master, what is the first thing that happens? Spiritual master is meant for removing our ignorance. And he is not meant to give us simply some goody-goody feeling emotionally. It's like you go to the doctor with a disease, then doctor will first of all pinpoint that this is the problem you have and here is a medicine that you need to take. Just imagine you go to a doctor and it doesn't tell you what your real disease is, nor does he give you a proper medicine, but he's just sweet to you. Sometimes people in spiritual life, they are like that. They go to Guru because Guru pampers their ego and the sense of feelings and emotions that they are seeking in life. We need to reduce the treble and volume a little less. So, and sentimentally people are attached to them. It's not that the Guru is offering any tangible spiritual knowledge, but it is just that he appeals to the emotion. That's why people continue. accepting someone as their teacher. But we see in the first verse when Krishna began to speak, he completely smashed Arjuna. Ashochanyanva shochastam prajnavadamscha bhashase. In the course of talking like a learned man, you are speaking so many words, but no learned man speaks like this, which means you are a fool number one. That's what Arjuna was being told. And in this way, Arjuna was exposed for his false attachments. Everything that he was offering as arguments, which he considered were wonderful arguments, Krishna just dismantled them by saying they're all based on Dehatma Buddhi, bodily misidentification, to consider the soul to be the body. And because of that, everything you have said till now is all bogus. And then Krishna begins a certain section of philosophy called Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya refers to count. Sankhya Yoga refers to analytical study of matter and spirit, in which you categorize the material elements and finally bring out the non-material soul which is entangled in these material elements separately out. That is how Sankhya Yoga works. Analysis of matter to bring out that which is non-matter, spirit, Atma, from it. So this analytical study of matter and spirit is currently what we are studying. We completed verses 13 onwards till 17, 18. And we studied two important concepts. Soul is different from the body. Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptir. Body is constantly changing, but the person remains the same. Means the person is not his body. This requires common sense. But common sense is most uncommon in modern times. Very rare commodity. Big scientists, big philosophers, big thinkers are bewildered when it comes to understanding this basic of life, that we are not this body, we are spirit, soul. So in our DYS session 4, we had studied the characteristics of the soul, which we will study today also once again. What are the characteristics of the soul? The first characteristic of the soul is that he is an individual entity. All of us are individual. God is individual person, and we never merge with each other. We retain our individuality eternally. That was said in the the 14th verse, where Lord Krishna stated that all these kings, you and me, have been eternally existing, and we never merge with each other. Having learned this, the immediate application of this in our life is that we should learn to tolerate various types of dualities. If you want to become successful in spiritual life, you will have to undergo 3 types of tests. First test in spiritual life is called flesh versus spirit. This is an interesting test we will all undergo. You can put it back again. I am telling you the 3 levels of tests we will have to undergo if we are to realize I am not this body, I am spirit, soul. Atma Tattva or Atma Sakshatkar comes on 3 levels. For example, there are demands of the body. Sleep, sex, food. They are called fleshly desires. So, in the beginning, our test is very basic. Are we willing to practice spiritual culture despite our bodily consciousness pulling us down? To give a simple example, to get up early in the morning is one simple basic requirement so that you can practice spiritual culture at Brahma Muhurta, the early morning time. We all have that experience that our bed and our, especially takiya, has got some magnetic pull inside it. And when we want to, come out of, we need to exert some thrust energy, power of determination to get off from that, it is said warm bed is a cold grave for spiritual life, because it kills our ability to practice spiritual culture. People sleep like anything sometimes. And where is the question of getting up in the morning and chanting Hare Krishna, whatever. So that is flesh versus spirit. There is a saying in Bible, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Heard that one? So we all have that experience. For example, so many choices in life are dependent on this battle, flesh versus spirit battle. So many times the spirit is willing to do so many things, but body says, छोड़ो यार, जाने दो, इतना क्या टेंशन खड़ा करते हो, सो जाओ, yeah, whatever. So this is first level of battle. We will have to overcome this. We have to practice spiritual life at escape velocity. You know what is escape velocity? When a rocket has to get off from the gravitational pull of Earth, it has to exert specific thrust energy by which at 11.2 kilometer per second, it travels out into the space. Only then it can sustain itself. If a little less energy, then what happens? The gravitational pull will bring it back. Similarly, we have to also exert a certain level of thrust against our conditionings. We all have conditionings. You understand these words? Conditionings. We are conditioned to certain type of comfort, certain type of habits, and we need to break them. And to break habits is not very easy. It just like, the electrons are habituated to going around the nucleus. And to get them off, you need to supply tremendous energy. Only then that habit is broken. Similarly, we are habituated, conditioned to do certain things in certain ways. It's very difficult to break off. So this is the first level of test. The second level of test is called appearance versus reality. It's an interesting test. Which means after we have started becoming regulated in our lifestyle, the test is not on the bodily platform now, it's on the mental platform, where we show off ourselves to be a spiritualist, but we have difficulty standing up to that stature in what is happening in our thought process. Often we practice spirituality to show off to others that I am a great soul, Mahatma. But our mind is actually running after desires for enjoying, although we show that we are externally detached. So that is called appearance versus reality. One has to battle against this aspect and overcome the mind's pullings. Just like there are body pullings, there are mind's pullings. And finally comes my glory versus God's glory. Another battle. This is at the level of ego. When you get unprecedented success, even in spiritual or material life, God gives you great success. But then there is that ego that tells us, Karta aham, I am the doer. It's because of me these things are happening. In reality, they are actually happening because of God's grace. So that's another level of battle. So please don't get scared. This is not to scare you कि ऐसे होता है. This is just to give an overview of the whole process, in short, so that we know where we are and where we need to focus right now. Sometimes what happens, we try and work out things that are not at our level of standard of, So we work out what we have to work out. First is you regulate your body, sleeping, eating, food, all habits of life, one should become regulated. Yuktahara viharasya yukta cheshtasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. So one should practice this. So that's what we learnt in text 14. Tolerate matra sparsha, shita ushna sukha dukkha, all that, mana apamana. One should tolerate and continue doing one's duties, material as well as spiritual. What is the result of this tolerance? Saha amrutatvaya kalpate. Such a person attains immortality. Now, in text 17, we studied how soul is indestructible and body cannot be saved from destruction. Soul cannot be destroyed and body cannot be saved from destruction. So we should not waste our time trying to adjust either. Because as spirit souls, we are indestructible. We never get destroyed. And how long do you think we are going to hold on to this body? Certain point of time the body will disintegrate. It is meant to be disintegrated. And that is why a learned person puts his efforts in the right direction to attain soul's eternal nature. This is text 18. We studied that because of soul being eternal, body being destructible, we should continue doing our duties in life, not get carried away by the external attachment to the body. Now we are on text 19. Please repeat. Ya enam veti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhautau na vijanito nayam hanti na hanyate. Translation. Please read. Arjuna is thinking, what will people say about me? I killed my grandfather Bhishma and my guru Drona. So Krishna is saying, wait a minute, sir. Soul is neither cause of killing nor ever becomes an object of killing. All these activities are actually carried out by the body. So don't think that you can actually kill anybody in this world. Of course, this does not mean that anybody who commits a murder can justify his murder by saying, well, soul never kills anyone and can never be killed, so I have not done any crime. We have certainly stopped the progressive march of that living entity in his current body by abruptly separating the body from the soul and the body from each other. So that is violence and it will be punished. But such a violence, when done under a superior authority for establishing dharma, like in a dharma yuddha, doesn't become cause of bad karma. Text 20. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. So again back to Atma Tattva. What is the characteristics of the soul? Please read. Very important. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death. We don't come into being. We don't go out of being. We just remain ever existent. So, sometimes people ask this question. What happens if all souls are indestructible, then why human population is increasing so much on earth? You have heard that question sometimes? Because they consider that souls are finite in number. So how can multiple and sudden rise of such souls can happen in human body? The answer is very simple. If there is some Monte Carlo, company, and they produce, sweaters in northern hemisphere countries, while they are producing sweatshirts in southern hemisphere countries, because there is summer and here is winter. Later on the cycle changes and they start manufacturing particular thing here and manufacture more here. We may say, oh, suddenly this number of dresses have increased. Actually speaking, in our calculation, we even don't know what has been increased, what has been not increased. Only nature knows. So the production of human body, which is a dress on the soul, may sometimes appear to be increasing. Other species appear to be diminishing, some endangered species going away. But at any given point of time, all species do exist somewhere else in the creation. None of them are destroyed. At the same time, the so-called explosion of human population is simply our limited observation in a domain that is made available to us. There are so many planets and there are so many varieties of human beings that exist there. We have no clue about what's happening to their population there. So this, first of all, population explosion itself is a myth. God is capable of providing for everybody. No, never mind how much population increases. It is said when Krishna was staying in Dwarka, just to teach his children, there were 1 lakh teachers. So you can imagine what is the population of Dwarka. And it is not that Dwarka had traffic jams and some such problem, sanitation problem or any architectural, I don't know, details. Lakhs and crores of people staying on that small island, Dwarka, which is in the ocean, having no issues. Krishna had 16,108 palaces for each of his queen. That's quite an opulence. And there was no problem or scarcity whatsoever. So God can supply unlimitedly, and this population explosion is a myth. In this, there is one important concept being taught regarding soul, and that concept is, I gave this example earlier. Sunshine implies sun. Although we don't see the sun, we know sun is there because of sunshine. Similarly, soul shine or consciousness implies soul. How do you know I am conscious and this mic is unconscious? Wherever there is consciousness, there are 3 things going on: thinking, feeling, and willing. Decision making. Anywhere these 3 are going on, you understand there is consciousness. So if you take this mic and throw it from this 8th floor, 10th floor, it won't protest. But you try to do that with me. I'll protest like anything. Why? Because thinking, feeling, willing is going on. And this is why consciousness is a proof of soul. Although we can't see soul, we can still understand that there is soul because there is consciousness. And what is the difference between a living body and a dead body? Living body minus consciousness is equal to dead body. Right? It is not having anything of this sort going on. Therefore, that source of that consciousness, the spark of life, never gets destroyed. It always remains. It just changes its occupancy from one body to another. That's the central theme. Text 21. Veda vinashinam nityam yaenam ajamavyayam katham sa purushah partha Kam ghatayati hantikam. Translation. Please read. Purport is very important. Everything has its proper utility. If a man situated in complete knowledge knows how and where to apply a thing for its proper utility. Similarly, violence has its utility. Very important concept. How to apply violence rests with the person in knowledge. Although the justice of peace awards capital punishment to a person condemned for murder, the justice of peace cannot be blamed, because he orders violence to another person according to the codes of justice. In Manu Samhita, the law book of mankind, it is supported that a murderer should be immediately hanged, condemned to death, so that in his next life he will not have to suffer for the great sin that he committed in this life. It's just like if you did some sin and you prolong the admittance and rectification of that sin, then the reaction to that sin comes in a compounded way. It's just like karja. You take money borrowed from someone and you don't pay it off. The longer the period, not only you have to pay the earlier sum, but you have to pay more. So like that, if somebody did some sinful activity and didn't rectify, then what happens? The reaction for that sinful action in the form of misery that is going to come increases in future. That is why he should be immediately hanged, so that he is not further implicated in sin. Similarly, when Krishna orders fighting, it must be concluded that violence is for supreme justice, and thus Arjuna should follow the instruction, knowing well that such violence committed in the act of fighting for Krishna is not violence at all. At any rate, the man, rather the soul, cannot be killed. So for administration of justice, so-called violence is permitted. Prabhupada gives another classic example. A surgical operation is not meant to kill the patient, but to cure him. Sometimes, you get some gangrene or some disease in the body, and they tell you, cut off your hand or fingers so that the rest of the body can survive. So the surgeon is being violent to you. Is it not? When they amputate a part of the body. But are they being violent? No, because they are actually doing good to you by making you survive. Similarly, violence is necessary when justified for a right cause. Therefore, fighting to be executed by Arjuna at the instruction of Krishna is with full knowledge, and there is no possibility of sinful reaction. This goes to show that ahimsa is not the central message of Bhagavad Gita. The central message of Bhagavad Gita is surrender to God. And ahimsa is to be practiced in general as long as all other means to establish peace and prosperity fail. Don't fail so bad. So once that happens, then you can administer violence also. So Pandavas had tolerated a lot. And they had been always trying to be side of dharma and not retaliate for all the injustices that happened. But when it became worse, then Krishna said, now this is the time. You cannot say no to violence anymore. One time, the politician who propagated ahimsa in India was asked this question by one of his followers. He said, if your daughter is being raped by a hooligan, some rowdy man, would you commit violence to that person to stop him from doing what he is doing? And he thought for a while and he said, I won't commit any violence. And that person immediately replied, then that is violence to your daughter. Your so-called non-violence becomes violence to somebody else. This is how subtle dharma is. You may say, I am not doing violence to this person. But then because you had capacity to stop him from what he was doing wrong, and you didn't do that, you are actually committing violence to this person by perpetrating the violence to him, not stopping it from happening. So this is simple logic. Anybody can understand this. It's not very complicated. Violence has its utility, but we should not whimsically administer violence. It has to be under the sanction of some superior authority. So that's the point. This shloka is another classic verse of Bhagavad Gita that teaches us how this body is nothing but a covering, a dress upon the soul. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani gruhnati naroparani तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि. Translation. When you change from your old clothes to new clothes, you feel happy or miserable? Really? Think about your Diwali days. Huh? Generally, everybody who wears a new cloth has to go and show it off around to people. See me, see my beauty. Huh? So we are so naturally inclined that if there is a worn out, tattered, whatever, ugly old clothes, we generally like to not wear them and get a fresh new one. Similarly, when this body becomes old and invalid, by nature's arrangement, we are awarded another body. Should that be cause of jubilation or lamentation? Why should it be cause of lamentation? Oh, my old clothes, I am so attached to them. Okay. So, would you like to live in those old clothes for all time to come? Then you said you like them. Okay, that's correct. But the point I'm making is, in general, we would like to have a youthful body. Nobody likes to have an old, invalid body. See, this impetus to avoid old age, disease, and death are inbuilt in our system. We internally resist it. No matter whatever philosophy we may tell, at the end of the day, we resist old age, disease, and death. Whatever philosophy on one side. That goes to show that we ourselves are deathless, diseaseless, and youthful beings originally. Otherwise, why should... See, something has to be unnatural about it. That's why we are resisting it. What is unnatural to the soul? These impositions of old age, disease, and death. That's why we resist. In our original condition, we are actually disease-free. It's not that in spiritual world there is some malaria, dengue, and so many other, diseases. In spiritual world, there is no old age. Nobody grows old. Have you seen Krishna ever growing old? He had a white beard, white mustache, and he was... No. There is no such a thing in the spiritual world. And there is no death. Everything in the spiritual world is eternal. Nobody dies. Everything, there is no time factor having past, present, future effect. It's all present, eternal. And this is why we should aspire that after this body, when I quit this body, I may attain my spiritual body, my spiritual nature. I don't want to again undergo the cycle of birth and death, having to accept this birth, old age, disease, death cycle. That is violence to the soul, to accept such a thing. And there are various ways by which the soul can be liberated from this body, various types of yoga systems. And there are also ways in which we conduct our day-to-day material affairs. family, job, etc., that help the soul get liberated. Those techniques are the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. That's why we should study Bhagavad Gita. It solves all our problems per se. It is not doing some patch-up work. It completely and permanently solves these problems of our life. Now, characteristics of the soul continued further. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, nachainam kledayantyapo, nashoshayati marutaha. Translation. Wow, what a description. This is real Superman, right? You read that description? The soul means who? I, you, every one of us. Nainam chindanti shastrani. One time Ravana, he saw Narad Muni in his beautiful, transcendental spiritual form. He is like a sannyasi, monk, with a veena in his hand, going around singing God's holy names. So Ravana attacked him, and he had a sword, and he actually slashed it through the body of Narad Muni, and nothing happened to Narad Muni because his body is spiritual. Though no material weapon can cut him into pieces. And seeing that, Ravana was fascinated. And he said, "Excuse me, sir, can I know how to get a body like that?" And Narad Muni said, "Yeah, well, it's very easy. You have to surrender to God." "That I cannot do." So you see, what can be done. So in this way, Nainam chindanti shastra. Nainam dahati pavakaha. Pavakaha refers to fire. Like we know, by God's grace, Prahlad, when he was put into fire, he was unburnt. Or when Sita was done Agni Pariksha, she was unburnt. So many examples in the scriptures. That goes to show that personalities that are spiritual or have spiritualized their existence actually can become indestructible, even visibly seen in this world. Nachainam kledayanti apaha. Sometimes we are worried tsunami ho jayega to kya ho jayega. No, even if tsunami comes and goes, we don't die. Soul remains eternally. And na shoshayati marutaha. It cannot be withered by wind. So there are various kinds of weapons in modern times being invented. Swords, flame weapons, rain weapons, tornado weapons. They are unable to kill the spirit soul. So in that sense, to get back such a spiritual body, which is our birthright, is the true glory of our existence. Instead of trying for such a thing, we are thinking fair and lovely लगा के थोड़ा और कैसे ज़्यादा जिया जाए, या थोड़ा और some patchwork with the body only. Hair are turning grey, put Godrej hair dye. Tooth are hanging loose, do some denture work. This is actually mockery for the soul. You understand? The soul has such a stature. What a glorious personality soul is. Like a real He-Man, Superman, whatever you call it. Instead of pursuing that through real means, we are having some patch-up work we are doing around with our body. यही body को मेरे को eternal बनाना है बस. Somehow I have to make this body eternal, and it has to look healthy, young, beautiful, this, that. Give up that attempt. What's the point? It cannot be saved anyhow. But although this body is temporary, it is meaningful, because it can give us back our spiritual existence if we rightly utilize this body. And that is the purpose of human life. In Vedic times, in modern times generally they know only fire weapons. In Vedic times they even know earth weapons, water weapons, wind weapons. They even knew nuclear weapons. Now the knowledge of that Dhanurvidya has gone. Dhanurveda. We only know few weapons. In fact, Hitler had sent his Indologists to study Indian Vedas just so that he can figure out some formulas to make some powerful weapons, which were not yet discovered by the other enemy scientists. Thank God he didn't discover much. But in any case, those weapons do exist. And you hear of Ashwathama shooting a Brahmastra in the womb of Uttara, killing the child in the embryo but not the lady. What kind of precision weapons are these? So that requires some technology, right? And that was available in Vedic times. What we have now is a perverted version of that original technology, although we think we are very great. Another point from this is that soul cannot be cut into pieces. So in the beginning, we never got cut from the Lord and became separate entity, and then we go and merge with God. That just doesn't happen. We are eternally individual personalities. So, further characteristics of the soul. Achedyoyam adayyoyam akledyo shosha evacha nitya sarvagatasthánur achaloyam sanatanaha. Translation. Wow. If you really take to heart this knowledge, your life will change from this day itself, knowing what are the characteristics of the soul. So when you read this individual soul, you can replace it with your own name. This Bal Govindas is unbreakable, insoluble, can neither be burned nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, eternally the same. Like that you should read these statements. This is called personalizing the knowledge given in the scriptures, not reading it as if, okay, that soul, some fellow, it's not like that. About us we are talking. So, so we are an atomic particle, Chitkana, of consciousness. We originally have a spiritual form in the spiritual world. But when we come into this material world, we get a very, very seed-like covered form, spiritual bija form. And that form goes on occupying various bodies. Sometimes goes in a... Can you imagine amoeba se leke whale? All these bodies are occupied by soul. Just like you may have a Luna, or you may have, a Maruti 800, and you may have a Mercedes Benz, and you may have a helicopter, and you may have some another jumbo jet, and you may have some space machine, going somewhere out. All of them are occupied by personalities, but the shape of the vehicle changes, and the capacities with which it can do some things around also changes. Similarly, all these species of life that we have, they are nothing but various types of machines provided by material energy. And the soul goes on occupying in various of those species and makes it functional. And what kind of genius this is. If you think about it, I was telling you about mosquitoes. What kind of creation a mosquito is? Mosquito has got perfect landing. उसका कभी क्रैश नहीं होता है लैंड देखा मस्किटो क्रैश लैंड हो गया never happens. Perfect and instantaneous takeoff, no runway required. What an airplane. उसके अंदर जो स्पिरिट सोल बैठा है उसका क्या मशीनरी है वो फर्स्ट क्लास. And it has got a hose pipe, puts under your subterranean region of skin, and has got a pump somewhere, I don't know, it sucks the blood. And it has an ability to first send an anesthetic material to make your thing numb while he drinks. And by the time that effect withers off, you become aware something is biting, he goes off. And as soon as your hand is approaching, he has got some radar system, unidentified foreign object coming, sir, from before your hand reaches him, phew, gayab, udhar se. What kind of mechanism? You know, and that is not sufficient. One airplane, mosquito, Prabhu, and one other airplane, mosquito, Mataji. They met with each other and produced 1,000 mosquitoes, 1,000 airplanes. No, that's too much. We human beings can't do that, right? As Radheshampuru said today in the class, a desktop and a laptop can't mate with each other and produce a palm top. It's not possible. But God has made such an arrangement, So that's the point. This is Adbhut, wonderful, what the abilities of the soul are. And in this way, he has got these wonderful characteristics. We should be fascinated by this information and seek out how can I regain this original nature of mine. That should be the purpose of human life. Not to just go on solving some temporary problems in this miserable world. As we generally say, in spiritual world there are no problems, and material world there are no solutions. You can try whatever you want. But ultimately the material world is designed for making us frustrated to send us back to spiritual world. So that is the goal of this creation. So one who knows this very clearly, even if frustration comes, he laughs at them. He said, I knew that. It is actually meant for some purpose. Because I was trying to enjoy material life and now I'm getting frustrated. God is telling me, do your own real business. Don't get into wrong things in life. Yeah, I'm just about to read that. Sarvagataha, second paragraph of the purport. The word Sarvagataha is significant because there is no doubt that living entities are all over God's creation. Even in this 1 square inch here, how many living entities are there? Spirit souls. Millions. Similarly, anywhere you go in the creation, there are millions of souls. And most of them are also wanting to occupy a particular material body. Sometimes people say cell division होता है, तो एक में already soul था, वो दौड़ हो गया क्या soul फिर? नहीं. There are fellows waiting there to occupy a material body because material body is the way by which you can fulfill your desires. Material desires. And God knows what material desires you have to make to get a body of an amoeba. But something he has done. So he got into that trouble. But in this way, the species are being evolving. The soul evolves from one species into another species, higher and higher, eventually coming to the human form, where he is given a chance. You want to make a choice, you want to get out of this cycle of birth and death, or you want to continue again. So we have to make the wise choice. So this is the meaning that spirit souls are everywhere. It is not that one spirit soul is all pervading. That is not the meaning of Sarvagataha. It means that small, so many spirit souls, they are all everywhere. And that's why this theory that there is no life on other planets is not acceptable. We cannot access life there. Doesn't mean life doesn't exist. It's just like somebody comes from some another planet, alien, he lands in Sahara Desert. He goes 15 kilometer left, 20 kilometer right, here, there, everywhere, and he goes back and reports on his planet saying that there is no water on this planet and there are no species there was no life at all, and we have successfully done all our research and we have come back. Is that a valid information? He just did not access the rest of the whole thing. So the point is, Jivatma is everywhere. I just recently came by Azad Hind Express and I got a factual experience of what it means that spirit souls are everywhere. So, there was in one what they call compartment, there are 20-30 people, where 8 people are supposed to be there. And you wake up in the morning to go anywhere. Nowadays the second class has become just like a general bogie or worse. And you have to really step over, here, there, from the seat. You have to go like a Spider-Man. You cannot step on ground anywhere. It was so miserable. And these people sleep anywhere and there's such a uncleanliness and everything. So Jivatma has gone to such a state where he can survive anywhere. So this is the problem. Sarvatraga. Therefore, it's an interesting one. Prabhupada said earlier, the belief that there is the soul can, life can be sterilized in fire is not acceptable, because it is clearly stated that soul cannot be burned by fire. So life continues even in fire. Therefore, there is no doubt that there are living entities also on the sun planet with suitable bodies to live there. If the sun globe is uninhabited, then the word Sarvagata becomes meaningless. To give an example, we are having our body, it has got earth, water, fire, air, ether, Pancha Mahabhut. When earth element is little more prominent, we are able to stay on earth. If somebody's body has got water element more prominent, they can stay in water. Somebody has got air element prominent, they can stay in. Somebody has got fire element prominent in their body, can they not stay in fire? Is that not logical to think like that? So this is how we have to accept Shastra Pramana, Shabda Pramana. And it is still logical, it is not blind faith. Text 25. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmadevam viditvainam nanushochitumarhasi. Translation. If you cannot even conceive the soul, can you damage the soul? You got my question? You can't even conceive what this fellow is. Through material means, there is no way you can capture a soul under a microscope or telescope or get him into some measurement system mechanically possible. Soul cannot, because it's spiritual in nature, it goes completely against the very grasping power of material senses. And that is why invisible, inconceivable and immutable. Therefore don't grieve for the body. हम बोलते ना सर सलामत तो पगड़ी 50, तो सोल सलामत तो बॉडी 50. Don't, what's the big deal? We are talking body, body, body all the time because of bodily identification. We think after this body nothing is, I am finished. One time somebody came to Srila Prabhupada and he asked him this interesting question. Swamiji, you are telling that there is spiritual world and that we are non-material. And we have to go back to spiritual world, for which we have to do some material, there is some tapasya, austerity we have to do. We have to avoid certain pleasures of life and lead a regulated life and all that. So then you become purified spiritually, and then you go back to spiritual world. But Swamiji, I have a basic question. What if there is no spiritual world and there is no Krishna? तो क्या हो जाएगा? ना घर का ना घाट का. इधर भी एंजॉय नहीं किया और उधर भी कुछ मिला नहीं उसको जाके आगे, तो क्या फायदा है? Prabhupada said, okay, let us for argument's sake assume that we are this body and that after death we become fertilizer. Still, as Krishna devotees, we had a gala life. We had good food, good music, good entertainment. Even our classes are quite entertaining. And we had dance, and we had good sights and smells and tastes, and of the best of that.